Dear students, in my last class, I discussed with you subject to the verb in noun clause. And today's topic of discussion is object to the verb. Noun acts as both subject and object, and a noun clause also acts both as subject and an object. So today's topic of discussion is object to the verb. Then how can we get an object? Our first question is how we can get an object in a sentence. Please ask the finite verb of the principal clause by who or whom, and you will get the answer, and that is the object. Okay? For example, I am eating a ripe mango. Just ask the finite verb eating. What are you eating? Ask the finite verb by what, and it will give the answer, a ripe mango. So ask the finite verb by what, and you will get the direct answer, and that is object. And when a clause acts as an object, it is an example of noun clause, and it is called the object to the verb. Now let us take the first example. For example, you may take your exercise book and pen and write down the sentences I am dictating. The first sentence that I want to discuss with you is, he informed me that he was going to the UK for his higher education. He informed me that he was going to the UK for higher education. Now let us analyze the sentence. Now write down number 1. He informed me, principal clause, because it is the clause on which the subordinate clause depends. So it is also called a dependent clause. Number 2, that he was going to the UK for higher education, subordinate noun clause. Now ask the finite verb of the principal clause by what. What for? Is he going to the UK? He informed me, the content is that he informed me that he was going to the UK. So that he was going to the UK for higher education is a clause and the clause is acting as the object to the verb informed, because you are asking the finite verb by what. Number 2, he was going to the UK for higher education is subordinate noun clause, and object to the verb is informed in clause number 1. Number 2, now write down. I am dictating in a very slow manner. My father told me that he was going to the field for walking. My father told me that he was going to the field for walking. Now, number 1, my father told me, principal clause. And what did your father tell you? Ask the finite verb of the principal clause by what? And it will give you answer that he was going for a walking. So it is subordinate noun clause, and it is acting as the object to the verb told. Clear? Now let us take the third example. The teacher announced that nobody would be allowed to enter the class after 11 a.m. The teacher announced that nobody would be allowed to enter the class after 11 a.m. So number 1, the teacher announced. It is the principal clause. Number 2, that nobody would be allowed to enter the class after 11 a.m. subordinate noun clause, and object to the verb announced. Announced is a finite verb, and ask this finite verb by what? What did the teacher announce? That nobody would be allowed to enter the class after 11 a.m. So nobody would be allowed to enter the class after 11 a.m. is subordinate noun clause, and object to the verb is announced. Now let us take another example and analyze the sentence. I didn't tell you what I found in the bush. I didn't tell you what I found in the bush. Number 1, I didn't tell you, principal clause. What I found in the bush, subordinate noun clause, and object to the verb didn't tell. What didn't tell? And the answer is what I found in the bush. So ask the finite verb of the principal clause by what, and it will give you directly the answer, and the answer is noun clause and object to the verb. Okay? Number 5, and it is the final example. He informed me that the football match would be postponed for a week. He informed me that the football match would be postponed for a week. Now, number one, he informed me, principal clause. Number two, that the football match would be postponed for a week, subordinate noun clause. And what did he inform? Ask the verb inform by what? It will give you the answer, and that is the noun clause. Object to the verb informed in clause number 1. Now let us come to the conclusion. An adverb, extremely sorry, a noun clause also acts as an object, and it acts as an object to the verb of the principal clause, and it may begin with that, where, when, if, whether, etc. For example, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if I can do this. Number one, I wonder, principal clause. If I can do this, subordinate noun clause, and it is acting as the object to the verb wonder in clause number 1. I can give you the example when, with when. For example, I do not know when the Rajdhani Express will depart from the station. I do not know when the Rajdhani Express will depart from the station. So I do not know is principal clause. Number 2, when the Rajdhani Express will depart from the station, subordinate noun clause, and it is acting as the object to the verb do not know in clause number 1. So it may begin with if, whether, that, where, when, why, etc. But always it will act as the object to the verb of the principal clause. I may give you another example. For example, I know when the match will start. I know when the match will start. So I know principal clause, and when the match will start is subordinate noun clause, and it is acting as the object to the verb know in clause number 1. So a noun clause can act as the subject to the verb and at the same time as object to the verb. And that is the end of my lecture, and I think I can convince you and I can make you realize what what noun clause, that is the object to the verb. Thank you very much.